Good morning or good evening. We have a global audience here today, so I am happy that you're here. I am Peter Freer. I'm founder and CEO of Play Attention, and we today will be talking about barriers to mindfulness. This is the Coffee Break Mindfulness series. This is program number 3 of that series. The barriers to mindfulness and how to break through will be the center of our discussion today. In light of that, by the way, I would like to discuss this as not as a guru. I don't have any special robes or beads. Uh, if you'd like to talk about this as neuroscience today and what we understand, what we know about how the brain functions and how it could actually benefit you. And that's what we've been doing in Play Attention for many, many years, teaching cognitive skills like executive function, that kind of thing. So, in light of that, feel free to ask questions along the way. I'll do my best to answer you. If I don't, enter them at the end again, and I'll do my best to answer you at the end of the webinar as well. If you were here for our previous series about what mindfulness is, then you would note that mindfulness is the practice of being in the moment. That's really all it is. It's quite simple, although I think a lot of people try to make it a lot more complex. It's actually quite simple. You approach mindfulness with openness and non-judgment. Openness, curiosity, and non-judgment. So, what does that mean when you say that? Non-judgment. You don't attach yourself to anything. You're actually, it's like being at a volleyball game or tennis match. You just watch, even if it's your thoughts. You just watch. You don't get to contribute. If you're watching a tennis match, you don't contribute anything to the match by thinking about it. You just let your thoughts go and you don't make any judgment about them. You just let them go, just as if you're watching a tennis match, volleyball game, something like that. It's really quite simple. We tend to make it far more complex than it actually is. We can also talk about what mindfulness is not. It is not a religious practice, although it's been done for thousands of years by different cultures, right? And it is not bliss or nirvana. It's not trying to reach some kind of, enlightenment or something like that. It's not being judgmental, as we just discussed. We don't provide judgment in any of it. We don't provide um, an action to anything that we're seeing, anything that we're listening to internally. It's not being distracted. That is so hard for us because, most of us here, and I mentioned this in one of the previous episodes, is that we live 1/3 of our lives in the past where we think about things we did and shouldn't have done, or things that made us happy in the past. Um, you know, it causes at times, sometimes happiness, sometimes regret, sometimes sadness for thinking about living in the past, right? Um, we live 1/3 in the future, and that means we wonder, and we worry. We become anxious about what will happen. What is this? What is going to happen if this happens? What am I going to do? So we live 1/3 there, and neither one of those is real, right? The past is dead, the future has not occurred. So we're trying in mindfulness, you're just living in the now. And but if we're living in the now, we're still very distracted. And I'll go into that in just a little bit. Mindfulness is not trying to quiet the mind. You're not trying to stop the chatter, right? And that's a misconception. Many people think, well, my mind will just get quiet. I'll try to quiet it. I'll tell myself not to talk to myself. And just a quick raise of hands for the many people that are here today. How many people have tried that? Try to get your mind quiet. You're telling yourself to be quiet. I can't, you know. And I'll do a Dr. Phil here. How'd that work for you? Right? Was that a thumbs up or a thumbs down on that? Right? It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't work. So I think that you discover a lot when you try to calm it down. that trying to calm the mind and quiet the mind doesn't work. But when you think about living in the past and living in the future, and that we're terribly distracted right now, there is this state that we're in. And I show you this, and I put this slide up last time. Many of you right now, how many are watching or looking at your emails while you're watching this webinar, right? How many people here are thinking about what you're planning tomorrow? When do you have to pick up the kids? What's for dinner? You've got a million things. And has my Facebook post gotten looked at, So while you're doing that, you're even in the present moment, we're incredibly distracted. But all of those things I just talked about, one third living in the past, one third living in the present, one third living in the future, it all provides a tremendous amount of accumulation in a knapsack that I tend to carry around with me. And does everyone understand that kind of analogy, metaphor, that we are carrying around all of what's in the past? We're worried about what's in the future. Right now, I am so distracted, and I carry all of that in a very heavy knapsack. And so that has nothing to do with mindfulness, right? Mindfulness is being in the only moment that we truly have, which is right now. I'm going to give you a parable that may make this a little bit clearer. All right, this is a very interesting parable, and we're going to use a parable with some Shaolin monks in it. Shaolin is in China. It's a monastery. Shaolin monasteries are martial arts monasteries, right? Where you have the monks practice martial arts, and even now the Shaolin monks will travel throughout the globe, and you may see them in your hometown performing incredible acrobatics, martial arts, and breaking things, big feats of strength, and what they call ki or chi. That is, that's old, thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. But there were two of those monks traveling back to their monastery, and they came upon the river, and they noticed that there were two lovely ladies standing next to the river, but the ferryman was not there. They could see that the little ferry, which was just a little raft that was pulled back and forth across the river, was tied up to the other side with the ferryman not in sight. They all called for the ferryman, but they could not see him anywhere. He was nowhere to be found, and the river was too high for the women to cross. So they looked at the two monks. One was a senior, old monk. The one was a young monk. And they looked at them and said, "We don't want to ruin our clothes, and we're afraid we'll get swept downstream. Would you carry us across?" And the older monk nodded and said yes. And then the younger monk grabbed him by his sleeve and pulled him aside. And he said, "We're not allowed to be near women at all. We must remain pure and chaste. We are not supposed to do this." The old man looked at him and said, "This is the right thing to do. They need help." So he went to one of the women. She took her shoes off and held them and then climbed on his back, and he held her and crossed the river, and he noticed that the young monk was following suit. And the older monk watched every step he took in the river so that they didn't get toppled by the current and washed downstream. He was very alert all the way over, being incredibly mindful. He stepped out on the other side. He put the woman down, smiled. He looked over his shoulder. The younger monk had just reached the landing, and he put his woman down. He smiled at the woman and then walked on toward the monastery. So about 100 yards down the road, the young monk came running up, and he said, "You know, we shouldn't, we're not supposed to touch him. We shouldn't have done that. It's against everything. Why did you do that?" And the older monk looked at him. He said, "I left my passenger back there at the river. Why are you still carrying yours?" That's mindfulness. I go through it. I'm mindful of every step along the way. And then I leave my baggage, my passenger there. I don't carry it with me. And that is also what mindfulness brings. right? It's not distraction. It's not living in the past. It's not living in the future. It's being in the now and not being distracted. I hope that made sense. That's a great parable and a great way of understanding what being in the current moment is. Not only being in the current moment, but not carrying that heavy knapsack around that we often do. I hope that makes sense. So we'll start the whole webinar is going to be about barriers to mindfulness. And then we will speak in that same slide about how to break through that. Right? Our first one is distraction that we just talked about. This is the big one for us, right? Our whole lives are distraction. Cell phones, TVs, emails, computers, kids, a better half, a spouse. We always, you know, have things that will cause us to just, move away from the current moment. So how do we break through? So if you're going to practice mindfulness, one of the easiest things that you can do when you're going to do, have a mindfulness session, is just clear your environment. Simplify your surroundings by just removing the distractions. Put your cell phone or TV, put your cell phone in another room, turn it off, shut off your computer, or just be in a room, a place that you have designated as your space to be quiet and to have a mindfulness session. To not be distracted might be a better one. To just not be distracted. So set yourself up for success by doing that. That's one of the simplest things. Could be that you're just sitting outside on a chair or on a bench and you want to practice mindfulness. You can do mindfulness while driving, but set yourself up where you're not going to be distracted. Remove those things that would be distracting to you. Restlessness. This is one that a lot of us uh, have trouble with. I can't sit still. I've got to keep moving. If I'm not moving, I'm not doing anything, and that drives me crazy. My sister is a lot like that. She cannot stand to be still. She must always be moving, and in her case, always worrying about something. But restlessness, right? It's not a problem, right? Just start small. Just set a time that you're going to be attentive, right? Maybe it's 1 minute. Maybe it's 30 seconds just to get started. You don't have to set extraordinary goals, right? As a matter of fact, you really just want to be more involved in the process, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Just 1 or 2 minutes at a time. And then you can also do active mindfulness, right? Walking, you can be mindful while walking. Be in the moment while you're walking. If thoughts come across your mind, let them come across like clouds. You don't judge them. You don't add to that fire. You don't address it. Just let it go across. And it goes on. And you keep walking or stretching, coloring, or even breath-based activities. I went in for a doctor's appointment yesterday, my annual checkup. And usually we go in, they call it lab coat phobia or something like that. You go in and you get your blood pressure checked, and your blood pressure is inevitably high when you go into the doctor's office. So when I went in, just to make certain I was in the moment, I just practiced what I call 7-Elevens. I was taught this by a catch wrestler years ago. I'm a martial artist myself. And this fellow talked about doing 7-Elevens. Remember the old fast, it's a quick stop kind of thing where you could go in and get a slushy or something like that. We're called 7-Elevens. I don't know if the company's even in business anymore. But seven means 7 seconds breath in through the nose, and then 11 seconds out of the mouth by going, and just practicing that while I was sitting there. And I came out with a really good blood pressure. That's easy to do. It's just bringing your mind to the current moment, not being stressed over your environment or anything like that. You're in the moment. Now, in user guidance, you can, if you want to help you if you're restless, you can use an audio app, um, or any kind of app that just gives you kind of instruction about how to keep anchored. And that actually is pretty simple. You can find these on the web anywhere, pretty much on I think YouTube has a bunch of them. Then, this is really important. Be kind to yourself. Don't be hypercritical. You're not there to win a race. Your goal is awareness, to be in the moment, not stillness. So if you have to move, move, but be aware, be in the moment. Then you can reframe it. This is really important. This one out of almost all the slides is one of the most important. Noticing distraction is mindfulness. You're not failing, you're training, right? So if your mind gets distracted and you start thinking about something and you start adding to that fire and going, oh, I've got this and I must do that. And then all of a sudden, a part of your mind catches that. You're not being mindful, it tells you. You go right back to mindfulness, right? And you don't have any judgment about it because we're not critical about anything. You noticing distraction. Do you see this? This is very important. Noticing distraction is mindfulness, right? You're training. That's how you can actually enjoy it and have fun with it. Every time you catch yourself distracted, you smile and you caught it. Because when you catch it, it's that is the practice of being mindful. I hope you understand that. That's a bit of fun. Impatience or unrealistic expectations. All right. This is quite interesting because a lot of times when you're doing this, if you're not kind to yourself, you go, I, I've tried it. I can't do this. I can't do it. It's just way too hard for me. Right. That impatience, or I want to do it. You come to mindfulness saying, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes today. I'm going to do my best to do 5 minutes. Well, that's an unrealistic expectation. That's hard to do 5 minutes of mindfulness when you're just starting. Right? How do we break through? So you'll set process goals. So notice when you not outcome goals, then I'm going to set for 5 minutes. That's an outcome, right? The process is I will show up for 1 minute, which means, and that's an actual physical thing. I show up for mindfulness for 1 minute. That's a very easy process right there to handle. All right. And then you don't tell yourself, I will feel calm and my mind will be quiet and I will be totally still. That's not realistic. You don't know if you're going to feel calm or not. You're just making up things that you cannot do. I will show up for 1 minute and do my best to be mindful. And then I can catch myself being distracted. And when I catch myself being distracted, there's a pop quiz. If I catch myself, excuse me, being distracted, that is, anyone can type it in for me if you were listening. If I catch myself being distracted, thank you. That's right. That means I'm being mindful. So you're going to track consistency, and this is another important element in here. Consistency is everything. You're practicing. And if you are inconsistent, it's not going to help you with your impatience or setting unrealistic expectations. You've just got to be there and show up and do the job. Be there, start with 30 seconds, move up to a minute, move up to 2 minutes. So you're not tracking the results. You're tracking, did I show up for practice today? That's all. Right. And the analogy to that is, right, brushing my teeth. If I'm inconsistent brushing my teeth, well, my teeth tend to fall out or get cavities. Right. So we need to be consistent with this. Mindfulness is about showing up, not, and I love this one. It's about showing up, not fixing something. Catch that? Listen to that. It's about showing up, not fixing something. Barriers to mindfulness, negative self-talk or judging the experience. I've tried it and it didn't work. How many of you said that to yourselves? I can't do this. It's way too hard for me. I'm always distracted. I just can't do it. So that type of negative self-talk really gets you nowhere. In mindfulness, and remember, one of the things that I do want you to be able to walk away with here is mindfulness is not incredibly complex. We tend to make it complex, but it's not. All you're doing is being an observer at a tennis match. You have nothing you can contribute to the tennis match because it's away away from you and two other players are doing it. So you are actually activating a part of the mind that can watch the tennis match that's going on either up here, the world around you as it's moving by. You're just watching, observing, non-judgmentally. You're not adding anything to the game. All right. So how you need to understand that, and when I have this bullet point in here, it says normalize wandering minds. Everyone's mind wanders. It's programmed to, right? It's an evolutionary thing that has helped us survive. It's a survival tool. Now, when we're mindful, things can change, but I'm not going to tell you what changes. You can discover that on your own. Use a gentle reminder for yourself. And this is very important. You can't flub this up. You can't do it wrong. If you get distracted, mindfulness will step in. And when you're mindful that you're distracted, if you see that you're distracted, that's mindfulness. And you must, again, you must love yourself, self-compassion, right? So love yourself as you're doing it. Don't be judgmental. I'm doing the best I can. I am a student. I'm learning. That's all. You're learning to observe, not perform. Reframe the way that you think about it. You're learning to observe, not perform. Time constraints. I'm just too busy to do this. I can't do this. I can't make time, right? I really don't know how I'm going to fit it into my schedule. If you're really interested in something, you'll find time, right? Even if you're not interested, but you've done some introspection, you've visited your knapsack that we talked about earlier, and you find there's too much in there, then you find, you know what? I need to be mindful. I'm way too overly anxious. I'm way too fearful. Then mindfulness will come about. That's good motivation, right? So you can do your ordinary routines like brushing your teeth, right? Eating or driving, and you can be mindful during those times. Mindfulness means you are in that moment. And while you're driving, it's super important. But while we're driving, some of us are even texting while we're driving, which is, by the way, even more dangerous than drunk driving. Causes so many deaths, automobile deaths, yearly, annually. But being mindful doesn't. Mindfulness places us at the right place at the right time, aware of everything, non-judgmentally. You can use what are called anchor habits. You can pair your mindfulness practice with something you already do, right? Let's say that uh, before you have your coffee, that's coming up first thing in the morning, right? Most of us have a coffee first thing in the morning. Before you have your coffee, right? Maybe it's too hot, you can't sip it. It can sit there in front of you, and you can be mindfulness for 30 seconds, a minute before you enjoy the coffee. And while you're drinking the coffee, you can continue the practice. You will always have time. If you look for the time, you will have it. Use micro practices, 30 seconds to check in with your breath or your body. You can remember I talked about the 7-Elevens, 7 seconds in, 11 seconds out, and being mindful of that. That's mindfulness. And you would be surprised how it affects your whole nervous system when you do that. All right. You can do body scans the same way, feeling your from your toes all the way up to your head and just feeling the sensations non-judgmentally. That's mindfulness. You can always do that. You're sitting waiting in the doctor's office. You can do it there. I did it yesterday with breath, right? So you reframe the way you think about it. It's not extra time. It's a quality shift in the time I already have. And the only real time that we have is right now. The rest of it is just thought. Past is thought and dead memories, right? And then the future is just an image that we've created that we think will happen. The only time we have really is right now, and we can always make time to do this. How to break through when I have emotional discomfort. And this will happen with some of this. You know that knapsack I talked about before again? If my knapsack is very full, when I start to become mindful, I just go, oh, there is way too much in here. It just upsets me. Some of us here will experience that, right? So to break through with that, start grounding practices. Use body focus so that you're, again, scanning your own body so that you can remain calm and you don't have to worry about being silent. That's not part of it. If you catch yourself yakking away internally and you catch that, that's mindfulness catching that. Use music, rhythm, or repetitive movement as a safe entry point. So if there is a song that you love that makes you feel really good, then use that as the port, portal to get you into a mindfulness state. If you have a lot of problems, mental health issues, get some help, right? Support for that so that you can help reframe the way that you respond and behave. Stillness doesn't have to mean silence, right? Remember, this is very important. Stillness doesn't have to mean silence. Start with safety first. Make certain that you feel good about what you're doing. If you don't feel good about it, reframe or seek support. All right, I think this is our last one about the barriers here. Lack of support or community. I feel like I'm in this all alone, is what oftentimes I hear people say. I'm all alone. I'm not certain I'm doing this right. Right? If you're not secure in that, join a group or class. There are all kinds of places you can find people practicing mindfulness. And some people have a lot of experience at it and they can walk you through it. You can use social motivation tools, right? You can have buddies online, streak trackers to see how often that you're practicing and your consistency, things like that. Those are easy to use. You can create accountability within your family, right? To say, hey, it's Tuesday night. Let's practice mindfulness for a little while. And everybody is kind of responsible because you're in a family. Teachers will help with that, or therapists can help with that as far as being accountable. So then the way to think about it then is that mindfulness becomes more sustainable when it is social. We are very social animals, even if we don't like to think so. Our brains do not exist on their own. They are part of general consciousness. That means every problem that you have, I have experienced it in some way or the other. If you think, oh, I'm the only one that fears this, well, there are humankind fears. Humankind is anxious. Humankind has happiness at moments. It's everyone is in the same boat here. We share uh, general consciousness in that way as human beings. That's what makes us human. So the understandings that we came through with today were it's just watching that tennis game. If I try to add to it, be judgmental, oh, I don't like the way he's hitting his forehand, or he's really messing. That's not mindfulness. I just watch. That's it. I don't feed that fire. I have nothing to do with the tennis match. I'm just watching. That opens up your mind to inquiry, right? Because in discovery, because sometimes your mind will wander, and all of a sudden you become mindful and you catch it wandering. Then you go back to mindfulness and you just observe. All right. This is fun. It's actually a great fun to do it, to practice it. And doesn't require religion. It doesn't require robes or beads or anything like that. It's just a way to use your brain in a very beneficial manner. All right. Now, Thursday's mindfulness coffee break number 4. That'll be our final coffee break for mindfulness. I will reveal what neurotech. Neurotech is the ability to watch what your brain does in real time on the screen. So, and play attention, for example, when we are teaching cognitive skills like time on task, how to start a project, stay with it, and close it within a normal or an acceptable amount of time. They actually can control the screen by their attention to that mindfulness task. And it's done with an armband. So I'll demonstrate this. We have some fantastic apps using this neurotechnology that those apps allow you to control the screen by your mindfulness alone. So instead of it being just an abstraction, it makes it concrete and controllable. We'll demonstrate that on Thursday. I'll discuss how it is done, what it looks like in the brain, that kind of thing, and how it's all based on neuroscience. These are fantastic apps. I think you'll enjoy that as well. Take care, and hopefully we'll see you on Thursday, where you can actually see the mindfulness apps that we use with neurotechnology. It's pretty cool stuff. All right, take care.